It started with a look that lingered a second too long. Asterisk, not the kind of look people notice right away, but the kind that settles quietly in the chest and stays there, warm and unsettling. The kind that makes you aware of the space between two people, even when they're sitting only a few feet apart. That night, the room felt smaller than it had any right to be. The air heavy with things neither of us was saying. Asterisk, I had known them for a while, long enough to recognize the rhythm of their presence, the way they filled silence without trying. We had shared conversations that drifted late into the evening, the kind that begin with harmless topics and somehow end with confessions you didn't plan to make. There was comfort there, safety, or at least that's what I told myself, but comfort can be dangerous when it starts to blur into something else. The lights were dim, not intentionally romantic, just practical. Outside, the city hummed softly, distant traffic blending with the occasional echo of laughter from somewhere far away. Inside, we sat across from each other, mugs cooling in our hands, words slowing as if both of us were afraid of what might come next. Asterisk, you're quiet tonight, they said gently. Studying my face. Asterisk, I could say the same about you, I replied. Trying to keep my tone light. Asterisk, they smiled at that, but it didn't quite reach their eyes. Instead, there was something else there, something thoughtful, almost conflicted. That should have been my cue to step back, to redirect the conversation, to protect the invisible line I could feel thinning between us. Asterisk instead. I stayed. Asterisk. We talked about small things at first. Work frustrations. Memories from years ago. Moments that shaped us without us realizing it at the time. Each story peeled back another layer, revealing parts of ourselves we usually kept guarded. I found myself leaning forward without noticing, hanging onto their words as if they mattered more than they should have. Asterisk, at one point, laughter faded into silence. Not awkward silence, heavy silence, the kind filled with awareness. They broke it first. Do you ever feel like you're standing on the edge of something? They asked quietly, and you don't know whether stepping forward would ruin everything or finally make things make sense? Asterisk, the question landed harder than I expected. My heart skipped, then settled into a slow, deliberate rhythm. Asterisk, yes, I said after a moment. More often than I admit. Asterisk, their gaze didn't waver. The room seemed to hold its breath. Asterisk, that's when they smirked, not cruelly. Not arrogantly, but with a softness that made it more unsettling. A knowing expression, as if they could see the thoughts I was trying so hard to hide. Asterisk, you've wanted this too, they said calmly. Admit it. Asterisk, the words weren't loud. They didn't need to be. They slid between us like a spark, lighting up every unspoken moment that had led to this one. Asterisk, I should have denied it immediately. Should have laughed it off, brushed it aside as a misunderstanding. Instead, I felt the truth press against my ribs, demanding to be acknowledged. Asterisk, I don't know what I want, I said honestly. I just know I'm tired of pretending I don't feel anything. They nodded slowly, as if they'd expected that answer all along. That's all I needed to hear, they said. Asterisk, nothing happened right away. No sudden movement. No dramatic gesture, just two people sitting with the weight of their honesty, letting it settle. The restraint was almost more intense than action would have been. Asterisk, minutes passed like that. Maybe more. Time became irrelevant. Asterisk, eventually, they stood and moved toward the window, hands tucked into their pockets. The city lights reflected faintly in the glass, casting their face in soft shadows. Asterisk, I don't want to cross a line we can't come back from, they said. But I also don't want to lie anymore. Asterisk, I joined them by the window, standing close enough to feel their warmth without touching. The closeness was deliberate, cautious, respectful. Asterisk, neither do I. I whispered. Asterisk, that night wasn't about giving in. It was about acknowledging something real without letting it consume us. We talked until the early hours of the morning, peeling back fears, regrets, hopes we'd buried under responsibility and routine. There were pauses where words failed us, where a shared glance said more than language could. Asterisk at one point. Exhaustion softened the edges of our tension. The clock read well past midnight. Outside, the city had grown quieter, as if even it knew to give us space. Asterisk. You should rest, they said eventually. We both should. Asterisk, I nodded, though part of me didn't want the night to end. Endings felt too final. Asterisk, before they left the room, they hesitated, turning back to face me. Asterisk. For what it's worth, they said, wanting something doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Asterisk. Then they were gone, leaving behind a silence that felt different from before. Lighter somehow, honest. Asterisk sleep didn't come easily. My mind replayed the evening in fragments, the smirk, the words, the quiet understanding. I lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling both exposed and strangely at peace. Asterisk morning arrived softly, pale light slipping through the curtains. The world looked unchanged, but I wasn't. Something inside me had shifted. Realigned. Asterisk over breakfast, we spoke again. This time the tension was gentler, no longer sharp. There was warmth in the smiles we shared, a mutual respect that hadn't been there before. About last night, I began. They held up a hand, smiling. We don't need to define it right now. I exhaled, relieved. Let's just promise to stay honest, they continued. With ourselves, most of all. Asterisk, I agreed. That promise felt more powerful than any dramatic declaration. Asterisk, as the day went on, life resumed its usual pace. Responsibilities called. Messages went unanswered. The moment faded into memory, but not regret. Asterisk, because some nights aren't about crossing lines. They're about seeing them clearly for the first time. Asterisk, and sometimes admitting you want something doesn't mean you have to take it. Sometimes it's enough to acknowledge the truth, sit with it, and choose what kind of person you want to be when the moment passes. Asterisk. That night taught me that desire doesn't always demand action. Sometimes it demands understanding. And that understanding can be the beginning of something quieter, deeper, and far more lasting than impulse ever could be.